Okay, so let's start working in R. I've decided to use the cloud version of R just to show you because it might look more similar to what you have on your screen. But again, you can also use the desktop version. A couple of different pieces. So over here on the left, this is your console. So you can sort of think about that as the place where you're going to type in commands. So if you ever want to do a calculation, let's say I wanted to do 1 plus 2, you would type in 1 plus 2, press the enter button, and it's going to spit out the answer. Of course, 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, and that's heavily what we're going to be working with in today's lesson. The other two windows are useful and will be very useful later in the course. So in the bottom is your file structure on your computer. So usually by default, it defaults to your home directory, like your username. And then you'll be able to see all sort of the files in there. This is the RStudio cloud, so by default, there's sort of nothing in there. But as I sort of start saving commands and saving data sets, I might see them here in my folder. This thing here is my environment, and that's where I can see all the data sets that I have to work with and that I can do calculations with. So let's say I'm using this example here where I've got the following data, which represents some scores on an exam. There's 10 different numbers, and I want to enter that in. Okay, so I can call this data set whatever I want. Some people like to use variables like X, but I like to use things that are a little bit more meaningful. So I'm going to call this thing exam scores. Okay. And so I'm creating this new object and I want to assign to it. So assigning is like a little arrow. It's a less than sign and then a little dash over. And then you'll do C. C stands for concatenate, which is the fancy word for just meaning put all these things together. And then in brackets, you're going to put in all the numbers that you sort of want to be in your list. So 67, 73, 98, 89, 78, 62, 73, 76, 69, and 66. Okay, so there's my code. And again, that's going to take those 10 numbers, concatenate or sort of put them together into one big list, and then assign it to a variable called exam scores. So if I press enter, okay, what you'll notice is over here in the environment, we now have a new object called exam scores. It says their numbers, there's 10 different numbers, and then it lists them out. Okay, so now what we can do is we can sort of do commands on that thing exam scores.